Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach,
And I'm Pepper.
and today we're doing another Try Before You Buy, where we look at a game on Board Game Arena that you can go and play right now. I believe this one is another. I think so far we've done a lot of premium games,
Yep,
so those you can't necessarily start on your own, but you can join in a game even if you aren't a premium member. But just know that you can still do it. You just may
yep,
have to wait a little bit.
yep,
But today, as you can see, we're looking at Seven Wonders Duel. And as you can see on the side here, we chose with the options of not adding either the Pantheon or Agora expansions, but you have the option to add those as well,
yes,
which actually I would like to at some point try before I buy those myself because
yes,
Seven Wonders Duel is a game we actually do own in the physical form as well. So it's one that we do like. But yeah, I think
yep,
at some point I'm going to try those expansions and see if they're worth uh, buying those and adding them to the game that we have.
yeah,
Because I have seen them for sale at some points, and I was tempted to get them, but I'm like, I wonder. I couldn't remember at the time. I was like, does Board Game Arena have those? And it does.
it
So you can try
does.
the expansions as well. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, as you can see here, it's kind of got a nice interface of choosing kind of the cards or anything, and it does a good job, I think, at showing kind of your opponent's side and your
yep,
side
yep,
of the map. And Pepper, you can explain Seven Wonders Duel if they've never played it before.
yes. So this is a shoot the moon game. That's all I have to say. Now, so this one is, I guess we can draft these cards. These are wonders that we will be building. Each of us will have four here, which I'll grab maybe these two here. Um, that one. But as you can see in the bottom left are their resource cost, which we'll be drafting other cards, which will then um, give us the ability to produce those resources. But even if you don't produce them, you can pay coin to then pay for those resources. But throughout the game, it's interesting to explain, but the drafting for two players here, you kind of set up the cards in this pyramid, and the topmost available ones are the ones that you have the option to choose here. And so, yes, as you can see, just this bottom row here, and just kind of the first thing, it shows the cost on the bottom, what it's going to cost you. Like if you have what's required, or if you don't, and maybe you would have to pay coins, it figures all of that out here for you, as well as the cost that it would have for your opponent, um,
Mhm.
which I find very helpful versus the kind of physical version here. So
Yes.
construct. You can either use a card to construct a wonder, construct a building, or discard for coins. They have it very clear there what you want to do. They show how many coins you'll get.
Mhm.
So very easy there. But yes, so we're drafting these, and as you can see on this rightmost one, once that this card, quarry card, would be taken, the two cards underneath it will be revealed, and then we would just continue drafting in this way until all these cards are taken, and there'll be another second round with a different configuration of cards, face up and face down, as it is here. Um, and we'll just do that for 3 rounds. And if there's a few different ways to win the game, but if you do get to the end of the game, it's just determined by victory points here, kind of printed on the top of this blue card. Anything that gives you those victory points. Um, Whoever has the most at the end would win. Otherwise, you can win with a military battle, which I'll show a little bit of that here. It's a military card. It's free for me. Construct that building. As you can see, it just shows you everything you have at your tableau at the bottom, as well as everything your opponent has. Um, but yeah, within military, I did move this military tug of war track, pushed it towards my opponent.
Mhm.
Uh, and there's another way to win, which we will see in a little bit here. These green cards, you can get a set collection of all these different symbols. This one has a little bowl there. There's a wheel up here. If you get, I believe, all 6 of those, um, then that's also an instant win condition.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably too much of an explanation for the game, but
No, it's one that if you've ever played the bigger version of this, the daddy version of it, Seven Wonders, it plays very similarly, where um, this one's more of, well, it's not more of, it is just a two-player version, kind of back and forth, kind of, it feels much more tug of war-y, versus Seven Wonders, kind of the original, the card game, but that has some very similar things where you're building up your engine of resources and building cards. And in that one, the way you kind of work with opponents is a little bit different than this,
yep.
but it's still also similar. I mean, sort of. I mean, you still interact with your opponent, but not in quite the same ways.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's definitely one that there's going to be some chaining throughout the game, where yeah, you buy the card and you get those little symbols. I
Yep.
think the original, we have not. Well, I have not played the original card game as much as I've played this one, but I believe that has a similar thing where it's kind of got that tech tree type thing, which I think it shows below if you scroll down.
Yep.
I think it shows kind of all the options and what ages they're
Yep.
in. Because yeah, like we said, you kind of go through this set and then another set and then a third set potentially, assuming
Yes.
someone doesn't do the military or science victories.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but yeah, so I think as you can see, like we were doing, it's a very very simple thing to do, and this almost makes it easier, I think, than the in person. Like you said, with those coins, it really shows
Yes.
you the cost. It shows you what it costs your opponent, because then you know, well, my opponent likely is not going to buy that, but they might, discard it for coins
Yep. They
or
might
a
trash
wonder.
it.
Might trash it for a
Yes.
wonder or something.
Yep.
But
Yep.
and then you can also see which ones are free to you, whereas in real life you'd have to calculate that yourself and kind of look at your resources.
Yeah.
This
The
kind of
way
does a little automatic stuff for you.
Yeah, and the cost for the resources, I believe, is adjusted based on kind of how many of them, if your opponent has those resources and produces them. So
Mhm.
it's not just a straight up number that you can easily figure out. It takes a little looking around the table to see actually what's going to cost you. So I would go a little further and I say this makes it very, very much easier than the physical version, not having to
Mhm.
just go and look probably every time that you do buy a card,
Mhm.
I would think would be just a little bit of a check in real life,
Mhm.
of exactly what it's going to cost. Versus here, it's just printed there, and I think it spoils me very very much, um,
Mhm.
for that part, and I think that's probably going to be a big factor into what I eventually decide on this
Yes.
game.
Yes. This is a very good implementation. And me and Michaela actually played Azul Mini today. And we had never actually played the physical version of it. And kind of similar to this one, that one does kind of the scoring automatically. So if you're not really paying that close of attention, you just kind of have a general idea of how the scoring goes. It is one of those things where it's like, how does this actually work when you do this? Uh,
Yeah.
and it's the same here where it's like, uh, this one does feel like one that, like you said, if you play it a lot on here, you're gonna get spoiled for in real life. You're gonna be like,
Yes.
wait a minute, how much does this cost? How does that work?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is that part to it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would say that this is a 9 or 10 out of 10 for how clean this is, how smooth it goes. I mean, you could play a game in. I mean, if you're I don't know cooking, I think 5 to 10 minutes. If you were really going
Yeah.
at a good,
Yeah.
you
Like you
could if you
said,
know the game well enough.
like you saw here, like just not really putting overly much thought into it, but we usually don't anyway. But we went through like half of the first round here in just like
Mhm.
that 1 or 2 minutes. So it's a really really quick game. Obviously, can be a little more thinky later on when things get closer to the
Mhm.
end, but it's very smooth and very fast game. And there's no setup. That's another big thing with setting up the
Yes.
table of cards and this pyramid and the other shapes as well. They're all uh, kind of unique shapes, but
Mhm.
that's a bit of setup. As you can see, there's like what, maybe 20 cards here every round, and that's
Yep.
going to be in real life placing those down, shuffling them, placing them down. These ones face up, these ones face down. It's a little bit of a chore. I don't know if I've ever actually set up the physical version. I've played it just a couple times in real life, but most of my plays have been here, and I think that that is going to be a huge up as well for the setup purposes.
Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely fair. Because yeah, this is one where it's definitely gonna be a change. But
Yeah,
I
there's
would
no break
say
between rounds to set it up unless you set up all three rounds, like in real
that's
life.
true. If
Then
you
you
had a big table
shift
and set them all up, you
shift
could just do
across the
the
table.
that is true. But then the setup's gonna be even more. But yeah, I think this one's a definite try before you buy. If you can play it on here, uh, you're gonna get your a clean, fast um, idea of how this plays. Because yeah, just it really lays it out for you. You pick, you click on the card, and then what do you want to do with it? It gives you the
Yes.
three options. It's right there. You can see what your opponent has. This one is set up. I think the only negative maybe, and I don't know, you can maybe adjust your screen. I haven't fiddled with doing too much on Board Game Arena, adjusting my screen, but some of those costs of the cards in the top kind of left corner that kind of play into that cost
Oh, yeah.
that you can barely see up on, yeah, that left piece. You can't really see that clearly. It's a little
Yeah.
small on the
Yeah.
screen.
Yep.
I would say
Yep.
that's the only thing, but I mean, luckily on the bottom it shows you how much, and
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
clear enough. But yeah, if it wasn't on the bottom, that would be a pain. So I'm very
Yeah.
glad that they have that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, I would highly recommend that, and I would almost say, unless you really love the game or you, um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a reason why. I mean,
Yeah.
it is fun to always play games on the tabletop versus on kind of a
Yeah.
electronic device. But yeah, this one is tough. This one's gonna be tough to beat.
Yeah.
We do own it, so there
Yeah.
is that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
I think I think this is a good game for obviously couples and spouses because it is a two-player only game. And like you said,
mhm,
with the premium version, this is a premium game on Board Game Arena. You do not have the membership. You're just likely going to be matched up against a stranger, unless one of you does have that membership. So that could be another factor into it,
mhm,
where you just maybe want to play with one of your friends or spouse and just
right.
probably go with the physical version then instead of signing up for this to be
Mhm,
able to do that because luckily you have that membership so we can start these games and just have one-on-one between just
mhm,
us two. But that could be a factor too as to why
yeah.
you go physical. But other than that, if those are equal to you or if you're fine playing with just random people, I think
Well,
this wins out easily, especially factoring in that they have those expansions in there as an
mhm,
option. I
yeah.
think this digital version easily wins out for me. Even though I like just having it in the collection physically,
Mhm.
just because I really love the game, I do have to admit that um, hands down I would choose to get rid of that to keep this version.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, that is fair. Because yeah, as we've been calling games, I have looked at ones that are on here and thought of, well, how much do I love it? Is it worth having it in the collection? And this is one that the implementation is probably good enough. And the membership, the premium membership is I think like 2, 3, $4 a month, or like yeah, an annual rate or something. You get it's not too bad. So if you do have, you're playing with multiple people, maybe you have a group that would like to play games on here, if you split that, it could even be cheaper. So it's not really too bad, especially if you play other games on here as well. But and yeah, so you can try a bunch of other ones out as well. But yeah, I would agree because yeah, the expansions are on here as well. So probably wouldn't end up getting those just because I could play them on here
Yeah,
unless I really loved them.
yeah, that's
But
true.
that'd be up to Michaela. Uh, but yeah, let us know in the comments below if you'd like us to show more content on this, or we can do a physical version of it as well, maybe a
Yeah,
playthrough or something. I don't think we have one, but
that's
yeah,
true.
if you want more content on this, we'd love to do it. We could try out the expansions and stuff. Otherwise, let us know below what you think of the game if you played it on both, if you think it's worth owning, or if it's just good enough on here. Uh, but otherwise, check out our other videos as well on our Try Before You Buy series. And we hope to see you on the next video. And as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content.